Alright everyone, it's a beautiful day. We have to start off with today's forecast. Mostly salty, actually literally raining salt to the point where all life on Earth may end. Looking at the reactions to the Kyle Rittenhouse trial verdict are so cathartic, so wonderful. All of the morons and evildoers of society are really livid because, of course, teenager defended himself. They were all expecting him to lose, and I have a feeling the legacy media is really taking it hard because they're expecting to get sued now for defamation. Imagine being GoFundMe. GoFundMe booted Kyle Rittenhouse's GoFundMe page. You'll remember this last summer. And then they not only allowed Rosenbaum's people to have a GoFundMe, not only that, but they called him a hero that was trying to stop an active shooter, etc., etc. Now the CEO of GoFundMe has locked down their Twitter, which isn't surprising. The NAACP president there said, this is worse than Emmett Till, which is the most hysterical hyperbole. Joy Reid has gone crazy. You've got de Blasio and Newsom defaming Kyle Rittenhouse. I hope he sues all these people. Like I pointed out last night, link in the description of the GoFundMe link, not that it wasn't archived a year ago because it's so fucking hilarious. Talbert Swan, de Blasio, the list goes on and on and on of people who are potentially opening themselves up for a lawsuit by Kyle Rittenhouse. I hope he proceeds with all of them. I hope he Sandmans them and forces them into settlement and takes a large chunk of their net worth. Politicians, especially elected officials, should not be weighing in such a manner post-trial. Deal with the fact that the jury delivered a decision you don't happen to personally like after prepondering the evidence for 3 fucking days, and get over it and shut the fuck up. But they're not going to. These leftoids are all very salty. So it'll be very funny watching. I have a feeling that it'll be multiple days before they calm down. They have to have more Soylent before they need their nappy. They get Soylent in a little bottle. They've got the adult baby undergarments on. They get a poo-poo caca change, and then they take a nap, and maybe they'll feel better after they watch some cuckold porn or something like that. Now, links down below if you're watching this video on YouTube in a pinned comment. 5 of them, because of course I've rejoined Daily Motion now as well. Links to other video hosting sites that I use. If you're watching this video on YouTube, keep in mind several videos I make every day don't go on YouTube. They go on these other sites and not YouTube specifically, due to subject matter, due to my opinions on subjects, or just due to overflow. I'm trying to incentivize people to make the switch because YouTube is steadily becoming a hellhole. Anyway, GoFundMe especially, I think, is the biggest loser here because they openly professed a belief that I think it was Rosenbaum, who died, that he was a hero trying to stop an active shooter. They booted Kyle Rittenhouse off. The problem is that you've made a declarative statement, and this is what I've been telling people now for the last 24 hours. If you see someone saying, oh, I think Kyle Rittenhouse is guilty, it's not defamation, it's an opinion. If you see them saying something that's more innocuous, like, oh, I just think that he's evil, if it's an opinion statement, it's not actionable. It has to be a person who is of some note, so a public official, an organization, corporation, someone, celebrity or something. That's step number 1, because otherwise, to prove defamation, unfortunately, generally you have to show that there would be a reasonable belief that there would be the loss of livelihood. So nobody cares if Joe Schmo weighs in on the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. The fact that you think that he's a Nazi or think he's a hero doesn't affect whether he can get a job, get a date, make money, and be left alone, etc. Doesn't affect him. When Talbert Swan or Bill de Blasio, especially public officials, they should be held to a different standard, or a legacy media outlet, a journalist or something, comes out and says it, that's more technically possibly actionable. And it has to be declarative. So when you see someone calling him, if you see some journo calling him a murderer, potentially actionable. He was found not guilty of murder. He is officially, for legal purposes, not a murderer. He killed people, but it was declared to be self-defense. The term murderer no longer can legitimately be applied to him. If someone says he is an extremist, he is a Nazi. Again, this is mainly what was said about Sandman, and he got Bloomberg and I think WAPO and a few others to settle, and is now probably a multi-millionaire, and he's barely in his early 20s, I think. In fact, I'm not even sure he's 20 yet. He's probably not even old enough to crack open a fucking Budweiser, and he's worth more than his parents are. It must be nice. You have to go through hell to get there, but after serving that time in hell, the reward is pretty good. I would also tell Kyle Rittenhouse, like, if I had 5 minutes to talk to the kid, I'd say strike while the iron is hot. Firstly, get your story out there. It's not like anyone will turn you down. They'll offer you probably 5-figure sums just to give an exclusive interview. Go ahead and take the fucking money. They'll spin it because they don't like you, because they're right now panicking, thinking that you're going to sue them for defamation. Choose one of them and let them off the hook with a nice exclusive and expect to be softballed a little bit, and they'll be respectful. Take the fucking money and then hire a new legal team, preferably, because based on what your defense lawyer said the other day, it doesn't seem that he's even necessarily comfortable with you as a person who's just doing his legal duty. I personally think Rittenhouse did nothing wrong. I think based on the word choice that his defense lawyer used, maybe he doesn't. Get a new defense team in, a star-studded celebrity affair, and go after all of these companies and individuals that defamed you. Twitter has potentially done actionable harm. They have banned people for simply pointing out what is now known, which is that Rittenhouse did nothing wrong. He did not break the law, ergo he did nothing wrong. Simple. He defended himself. Does Twitter, in so acting, take up a de facto opinion that modifies public discourse in such a way that Rittenhouse could be essentially tainted by that de facto opinion? This would be a potentially sleazy legal argument to make, but the entire legacy media deserves to be goddamn sideswiped right now. I hope he makes the case anyway. If you're trying to drag him through the mud, see, Rittenhouse is in a great position. He's been found not guilty. As far as the legal side is concerned, he's innocent, completely defended himself, nothing wrong. I don't expect the feds to go after him. Biden has pretty much explicitly thrown his hands up and said, well, you may not agree with it, you can protest peacefully, but this is the verdict is in. And if you had a federal trial, of course, the fact that he was found not guilty already on all these charges means, let's face it, he's not going to face any time in jail. He's in a great position because he can rake these people over the coals and basically show up and say, hey, I want $10 million because you defamed me. And I can go to the media because I'm striking while the iron's hot. You only get a limited time to do that, but I can go to the media. I can rake you over the coals. I can talk to politicians. Ted Cruz wants to shake my hand. That dude from Missouri wants to shake my hand. The one that, the Gen Xers there, you remember that couple? The McCloskeys, sorry. They want to hang out with me. I've got all sorts. I've got some celebrities and rich people and e-celebs and content creators and a lot of people that like me. I can make your life pretty difficult. So then they just settle. They say, okay, well, we're not going to give you $10 million, but here's like $250,000 for your effort. Then they'll pay him off to shut up. And in some cases, you'll have legal contractual agreement, NDAs and shit like that. Basically, a shut up and we'll pay you agreement. And most of the time, as with Sandman, you don't know exactly how much the settlement was, but in these cases where it's so high profile, it will be more. This isn't someone got defamed and they own a car wash. They got defamed, the enemy car wash said your car washing sucks basically, and you sued them in small claims court. This is the sort of thing that leads to major settlements. 6 and 7 potentially figure sums. At the very least, even for individuals, it'd be in the high 5-figure range, I would imagine. He'll be a multimillionaire, and he won't even be old enough to drink. That's the hoped outcome. I am looking at all the salt from all the leftoids, many of which swore up and down to me, especially on Twitter, he's going to be found guilty, he's a murderer, he's a terrible person, ha ha ha, they're going to throw the book at this white extremist. It didn't happen now, did it? I'm still waiting for any of these people to say, oh shit, I was wrong. I'm still waiting for any of those people to say that. I'm still waiting for any of the salty leftoids to simply admit that they were wrong the entire time because they were lied to by the media. Look, the second that the gun charge was thrown out, I had a video on it days ago, the preponderance tilted way off in favor of him being found innocent. I pointed that out days ago. It was obvious, because if you're not unlawfully carrying the weapon, you're literally doing nothing wrong, and a person is making death threats against you. What sane, reasonable person in the jury was going to find him fucking guilty of the first charge? And once you're found innocent of that, because you are literally attempting to flee and turn yourself in at the time, we have 10 fucking video angles of it, who was going to find him not guilty on any other charge? The leftoids, though, they don't have the mental capacity to follow through logically more than 1 or 2 steps at a time before they get bogged down in fifis. They get bogged down in mafeels. And to be clear, there are a handful of leftoid commentators that saw this coming, didn't make it a huge issue, and aren't salty right now. Good. There are a handful of people that have wonky economic views, but manage to keep otherwise at least somewhat of a level head in the world. But it's not most of them. I am enjoying the salt. I'll be openly antagonizing these people later. Haha, how about that Rittenhouse verdict? And it'll be funny because they'll devolve generally into one of several things. The jury was wrong. So, the people that actually looked at all of the evidence for 3 days, I know more than they do. So the jury are idiots. The judge was biased, which has literally nothing to do with the jury's decision, but they make this argument over and over and over again. Or white supremacy. Oh, it's a white oppressive system. There were too many white people on the jury. They were never going to find him guilty because of racial issues. Yeah, including the non-white juror, including the fact that 7 of them were female. Yeah, they're obviously was the demographics of the jury, which literally represents a jury of your peers in that particular demographic area that he's from. It's mostly white. But, that's not supposed to matter. He should have been, the jury, according to the leftoids, in order to be fair, has to look like it comes from Harlem for some reason. I'm wondering why they always believe this. In many cases, I think it's just cuckoldry. That's about all. Peace out.